Can you tell us the story behind Oath Keepers?
Yeah, I founded Oath Keepers in 2009, and I had worked for Ron Paul's presidential campaign, and then I realized he was not going to win the nomination for the Republican Party presidency. I realized we were in trouble because both sides were corrupt in this country. The same realization that President Trump came to while he chose to run. You have a uniparty here. You have corruption in both Republicans and Democrats. You saw, well, like Liz Cheney, for example, is a good example of a neoconservative Republican who hates President Trump because she hates the MAGA movement, hates populism, and hates the American people, frankly. She just wants power for herself. And the same thing goes with like someone like Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer. They care about themselves and their own power.
Do you regret being involved in January 6th, or?
No. Of course, I regret. It would have been better if none of the Trump supporters had gone inside. It was really a case of entrapment. It was like a lobster trap, as one of my co-defendants described it. You know, easy to get into, but once you're in, you're stuck. They wanted people to go into the Capitol so they could use that to stop the challenges to the elector slates, and so they could also create this false narrative of an insurrection to deflect attention from what they were doing. They were the ones who were actually subverting democracy by stealing the election. It was stolen. It was illegal and unconstitutional, because they were violating state election laws across the country, which triggered Article 2 violation, which Article 2 mandates it's the state legislature alone that determines the manner for selecting the electors. And so to cover up their crime, they wanted to create like a wag the dog, Reichstag fire moment and on J6. They could focus attention, look over here, don't look at what we're really doing. So that's what happened. They cover their own rear ends. And of course also to use it to go after President Trump. Try to make him disqualified under the 14th Amendment, try to put him in prison, or make him unelectable. None of that worked. And they tried to kill him. When all that didn't work, they tried to kill him twice. You know.
Do you think Trump will be able to unite the country?
Yes, absolutely. Already doing it. Like I was in prison, you had black, Hispanic, and white inmates all cheering. When he got shot and stood up and put his fist in the air, they all got up and cheered and they said, hey, Trump's a legit OG, a legit man. And they're like, no question. And they had deep respect for him. That's when he won the election. Because the working men across the country looked at that and said, okay, he's not just a tough-talking New Yorker. He actually has physical courage. He's really legit. He is a warrior spirit. Like Daniel White said, you've never seen a more resilient human being in his life. That's true. And so we saw that, and I think he won the election then because across the country, the working class Americans saw that this man's legit. He really loves his country. Doesn't need it. Doesn't need this. He has plenty of money. He's doing this because he believes in his country. He's willing to risk his life twice.
What would be your sentence if it wasn't for Donald Trump?
I had an 18-year sentence I was serving. I wouldn't got out till 2036.
How did you get arrested?
How to get arrested? What do you mean?
How does it look like?
How does it look like? Oh,
how did they find you?
They knew where I was living. I'm not hiding. So they called me on my cell phone and said, "Come outside. The FBI's outside. Come outside." So I went outside, and they arrested me. You know, I'm not gonna resist arrest. I'm an innocent man. I'm gonna fight in court.
What were you doing during? Okay. What were you doing exactly during the January 6th?
Doing security operations for two permitted events on Capitol grounds that day. One for Latinos for Trump in Area 7, right next to the Senate office buildings, and the other one for Ali Alexander's Stop the Steal rally right there outside the Capitol where members of Congress were supposed to be speaking. And that did not take place because of all what happened at the Capitol. And our men who were there to do security were escorting people from the Ellipse rally to the Capitol to go to the other rally, and then they got caught up and went inside along with everybody else.
Do you believe that the previous presidential election was stolen or rigged?
Absolutely. Like I said, it was unconstitutional and illegal, violated multiple state laws. And when you violate state laws that are meant to prevent fraud or make it easier to find fraud, of course it becomes hard to prove fraud because now you don't have the laws in place to help you prove it. So I don't worry about that. I don't need to prove the fraud to know that it was illegal under state law. They violated state election laws, and that made it unconstitutional under Article 2.
What would be your message to people who are independents or maybe Democrats or Republicans who do not support Trump?
Well, I think a lot of them already are starting to come over. Look at Tulsi Gabbard. She was in the Democratic Party. Look at Robert Kennedy Jr. They realized the Democratic Party left them. These are old school Democrats who believe in the Constitution, believe in free speech, for example. It's a big reason why Tulsi Gabbard came across. She's like, this is not the same party that I grew up with, and she became part of when she was, first in the state legislature in Hawaii. So you should read her book, a really good book. She describes why. She said, for love of country, leave the Democratic Party. You know. So I think that there's still plenty of Democrats out there who love their country and still believe in free speech and still believe in the Constitution, but they've been brainwashed with propaganda against President Trump. But I think a lot of them are starting to see through that. So I would say the best thing for us to do as a MAGA movement is understand that the rank and file of the Democratic Party is not our enemy. It's the leadership that are corrupt. And those are the ones that use the brainwashing and propaganda of the media to keep their people in the Democratic Party in fear of President Trump.
What are you going to do? What are your plans?
It's breaking down. It really is.
What are you going to do? What are your plans right now after you left the prison?
For probation. I'm still under probation. We're trying to get rid of that. I don't think I should actually be under probation. That might even be a mistake by the BOP. We're trying to figure that out. But meanwhile, I'll go ahead and report to my probation officer within 72 hours to be sure I comply with that.
Do you think that there were like?
Pardon.
Yeah. Do you believe that there were like provocation from anti-Trump movements or organizations during January 6th?
Yes.
Like they try to do the provocation to put Trump in a bad light. Like
I believe there are bad actors within our intelligence community, and unfortunately within law enforcement, they were also part of that. It was on both sides. There were agitators and provocateurs in the crowd. And there were also agitators and provocateurs among the police too. Yeah.
Should Trump issue presidential pardon to all the people arrested during January 6th?
He is. That's what he's doing. Well, oh yeah, there's 14 of us that got commutations. I believe they should all be pardoned too, of course, including myself. Yeah. No exceptions. Everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much.